I just want to encourage you, all people, men, women, everyone, take the time to learn about who you are, learn about your background, and then in the areas where you have pain and trauma, make the effort to heal it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Second Half Chronicles podcast today. I'm your host, Carami Olson, and I am so happy you're here. On this podcast, I make it a point to find women who have lived their first half of their life. They have done the hard things, they've done the fun things, and now they're moving on to bigger and better things. They're getting more skills, they're helping more in the community. They're just thriving. And this today I have Addy Manriquez, and she is just a beautiful guest on the show. I'm super excited to have her. So here's a little bit about Addy. Throughout her entire life, Addy has demonstrated great passion for collective connection, communication, and collaboration, which I can attest to. Addy has spent a lifetime of service, both professionally and personally, always working to build community while improving and transforming the lives of others. In the second half of her life, Addy aims to intentionally heal individuals, couples, and families while cultivating a more supportive and inclusive environment for individuals with disabilities within all the environments they live, learn, and grow in. So today I want to welcome to the show Addy Manriquez. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Second Half Chronicles podcast today. I'm your host, Carami Olson, and I have Addy Manriquez here today with us. And we are so excited to have her on Second Half Chronicles. We look for women out there who are doing amazing things, who've either pivoted into their second half or are pivoting or in their second half, and they're just killing it. And we always want to find some examples of that here on this podcast and really highlight them, and so that other women can see that and get excited and get enthused. And that's what I felt about Addy. So Addy, thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you, Carmi. I appreciate it.
If you could just take just a minute and go ahead and introduce yourself and just let us know a little bit about you before we kind of dive into the questions that I have for you.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to again say thank you to Carami for connecting with me and inviting me to be here on the podcast. I feel like what you're doing is so important and so needed. I believe that in our world, I was going to say in our nation, but in our world, we focus a lot on development of children. We talk about developmental stages and adolescence. And then we get to this stage in our lives and we don't really talk about it much. And I think a lot of times women get lost. So I'm really excited to be here and share this space with you. So I'm Addy Manriquez, and I admit with no shame that I am truly qualified to be here as I am in my second half of my life. Yay! It takes a lot to get here, but when you get here, it feels so amazing. It feels amazing. First, I'm going to share a bit about like who I am at my core, and then a bit about kind of where I come from, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Go for it. I love
Okay.
it.
So, I always say that my three C's are connection, communication, and collaboration. I love communicating, connecting with others, and just having intimate conversations about things that are important and actually what matters fills my soul. Collaborating with others to develop ideas and create meaningful opportunities for people to get to know themselves and grow and transform is what brings me joy. And I believe that a part of my soul curriculum, I know you're an educator, so you understand how we have English curriculum, math curriculum, history curriculum. I learned from Marianne Williamson that we all have our own soul curriculum. And I believe that a part of my soul curriculum is to coach others by helping them to recognize their barriers to communication and to help them to develop more empowered communication so they can live their lives unapologetically and then speak their truth with kindness and compassion. So, and also while getting their needs met. So that's kind of my core values and what I believe I'm here for.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Gosh, we had a pre-podcast interview and all of that, and I didn't realize all of those pieces that were coming together there. That's awesome.
Well, thank
Beautiful.
you. Yes.
That's awesome.
So, just a little bit about a little bit about my background. I am in my second half, so this is going to take a little bit of time, and I
Nope.
try to put this kind of brief, just in order. A bit about my background. I am Latina. My real name is Adelina, but everybody calls me Addy. And I come from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And for those from the land of enchantment, I prefer red chili. If you know, you know. I was born the third child and only girl to parents who were married at the ripe old ages of 14 and 17. I grew up in a very loving home, but there was quite a bit of dysfunction in our home. I think it's important for me to say this. My maternal grandmother had to quit school at age 8. Her mom developed diabetes, so she had to stay home to take care of her because she went blind. And then my mom quit school when she was 14. She was in 8th grade to have her first child. So I was the first female on my mom's side of the family to pursue higher education, which was incredibly important to my parents, but especially my mom, because she wanted me to have opportunities that she never had. So during my first half of life, I married. I had 3 amazing children, traveled as a military spouse. I worked as a speech language pathologist. I volunteered in every position possible. And then I was about 42 years old, and my husband and I separated. A few months later, I lost my mom. And at 44, I got divorced. And I just knew at that time that I had to put in some serious work to heal myself from a lot of pain and a lot of trauma that I experienced. And then also the intergenerational trauma that my family had been experiencing for decades. So I experienced incredible transformations in my thoughts, my beliefs, my actions, how just kind of who I was. I really transformed. And then I remarried a wonderful man who has taught me what authentic love and partnership in a relationship really looks like. So, with that, I gained 2 more amazing children. I went back to school again and I got another degree with the hopes that I would be able to continue helping and supporting students with disabilities, their families, and school staff, but in an administrative role in special education. So, did all that, and there's so many things I want to say, but lastly, I'm proud to say that I am a grandma to a beautiful granddaughter who just turned 1 last week.
Oh, how wonderful. Well, and you're absolutely right. All of us who are kind of in our second half, moving into our second half, there is a lot. We've been through a lot, and I think that's what I don't know. That's another thing that I want to get out to the world is like, remember, we have all this experience and we've been through a lot of stuff. So here,
Yes, for sure. For sure.
well, thank you so much for for that beautiful introduction. That really puts a lot of things into perspective about you, and then just about life in general. Kind of makes me
Yeah.
reflect.
I'm always an
So
open book. I feel like that we go through life and the challenges that and the obstacles that we encounter, the
yeah,
challenges we experience and the obstacles we encounter. I think they're there for us to learn from and then help others to also to be more compassionate when we put our hand out to help them.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my gosh! Like once you've walked in someone's shoes, you're like,
Yes.
oh, okay, I get it.
Yes.
Or,
Well, I
I
was
mean,
the best parent until I had children, and you always think like until you're in somebody's position, you think you know what you would do, or well, I would have said this and I wouldn't have done that. And why do they let their kids do this and that? And it's like you haven't lived it, so don't
uh-uh.
judge it. Yeah.
Well, do you have any takeaways from your first half that you might share?
Yes. So I would say first to make the effort to learn who you are and why you are the way you are, learn your trauma and heal it. It's kind of not discouraging. I know that we all do things in our own time, but I feel like some of the younger some in the younger generations are healing things more sooner than we did, I believe, because we are seeing the pushback. We see them have boundaries. We see them communicating, from an empowered stance. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, they're not being respectful, or they're not doing it the way that I did it. But part of it is that they are healing sooner. So um, I just want to encourage all people, men, women, everyone, take the time to learn about who you are, learn about your background. And then in the areas where you have pain and trauma, make the effort to heal it.
Right.
Um, I think it's important to ask questions. Don't accept the phrase, it is what it is, because it's not always what it is.
Right.
Um,
Doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be, and I think for me, it started when I was a teenager. My parents would say, "Well, you have to be home at 10:30," and I would say, "Well, why do I have to be home at 10:30?" And my brother at this age was able to come home at 12:30. "Well, because you're a girl." And I would say, "What does that even mean?" Like, and we would go back and forth. My dad used to call me his little attorney. But it wasn't just that. It was like, I think for me innately, I've always questioned things like, so why this? Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, that's not rational. That's not logical. And maybe it can be perceived as rebellious, but I'm not trying to encourage rebellion. I'm trying to encourage people to understand, why do you believe what you believe? Why do you stand for what you stand for?
Hmm.
So that way, when you have a strong yes about who you are, what you believe, all of those things, then you can have a strong no. When you know what your yes is, you can have a strong no.
Hmm.
Heard it put that way. And I think it's important. Um, I think that most one of the most important things is what other people think about you just doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And I'm finding that that's something I still have to kind of manage and reframe continuously. I coach myself, but in my coaching business, what I'm finding is, and in just relationships that I have with other women mostly, they really struggle with speaking their truth and having boundaries and communicating to get their needs met because they're so worried about what the other person is going to think and what is their perception and what's going to happen. And we have all kinds of limiting beliefs that we come to our adulthood with that really impact our ability to communicate effectively. So
Yeah. And move forward. Yeah. Oh, very nice. So are there any um, influences in your first half that you found either helpful? The reason I ask is because if we do have younger people listening, it's nice for them to like perk up and think, oh, that was a good influence or not so good influence, you know? Do you have any
yes,
influences in your first half that you want to share with us?
gosh, I try to think about this. I think that I didn't really have any really strong influences like family or I'm trying to think. I did have teachers in school, so you'll appreciate this. I do remember my teachers. I remember all their names, 1st through 6th grade, and I do think that they served as really strong role models for me because I was going through an incredibly difficult time. My mom was an alcoholic, and she was there were times when she was well, and there were lots of times when she was not well and not able to get me up for school or, things like that. So
Mhm.
I did really look up to my teachers, which is why I started out with, I want to be a teacher. And then I want to be a special education teacher. I want to be a deaf educator. But I believe that it was my teachers who modeled kindness and, just compassion and love for
Mhm.
me.
Right.
Um, but I wouldn't say there was anybody who demonstrated resilience or a positive mindset or who were truly emotionally, mentally, or spiritually healthy. So I would have to say mostly my teachers.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Oh. So, okay, so everyone has, I know you kind of touched on this, but everyone has their own definition of what second half is. And maybe you can kind of pinpoint when it began. I kind of looked at mine as when I was coming up on my 47th birthday. I was in a kind of a down stage inside. Nobody really probably knew on the outside, but inside I was like, is this all there is? Like, I don't even,
Right.
what are we doing? And then somehow I had this realization that both of my grandmothers lived until they were 94 years old. So 94 divided by 2 is 47. And I was all, maybe I
Wow.
have a whole nother second half of my life. Like, so that was kind of my definition. And I know right when it happened. For
Mhm.
everyone, it's different. Um, so define when your second half began.
Okay. Again, I feel like all my stories are long because I feel like details are so important.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
of
I
course.
kind of see it as like thirds almost, but or two second halves.
Yes.
So I believe when I initially separated from my husband, I found myself in a place where I had never been. Like, I had never paid bills. I had never been solely responsible for myself, other than, when I was in college. But yet I still had, support, relative support from my parents. Um, but at that time, I just realized, like, I can do whatever I want. I remember being really, really sick, and I knew that I could go to the it's called Med Express here, but what is it? Urgent care.
Yeah.
Before, whereas before I was highly encouraged to go on base because it was free, and I said I can go to urgent care if I want to go to urgent care. And I did go to urgent care. And I remember walking in there almost feeling guilty, like I shouldn't be there because I could have got on base and it was free, but it was only $12. And I was sitting there and wasn't planning to share this story, but I will. And there was a magazine and it was a women's health magazine. And I picked it up and I just was looking at it. I don't even know why, because I was really sick. I had walking pneumonia at the time. And it said, the Personal Transformation and Courage Institute. And I looked at it and it said, Mary Elizabeth, I don't remember her last name right now, but anyway, and it had a little article about, personal transformation and growth. And there was something about it that really spoke to me. And there were several copies. So I took it with me. And so I signed my name and email up, and I got an email inviting me to a women's retreat and in Virginia Beach. It was about 45 minutes away. And I did attend, and it was very different than any type of retreat that I had done before. I'd always done a lot of retreats in the church, and it was just women from all walks of life. And that's when I realized that I knew there were people from all walks of life. I've been in the military, or not in the military, but with my spouse in Hawaii, Germany, Turkey. I knew that, but for some reason at that point in my life, it was almost like my heart just kind of opened. And I realized that, I was here with all these women who I didn't know. They were complete strangers. And they were talking about chakras and they were talking about all of these different things. And I thought, oh my goodness, am I in the right place? But it just kind of opened a door to me when I realized that there's just so much more than the world that I had held myself in. And there were people that I went ahead and um, became friends with, befriended, and learned so much about life. So I believe like that was an awakening for me because I had to be completely independent, and I started my personal transformation and my personal growth work at that time. So about a year ago, I was working, and it was stressful. It was a really stressful job. And I found out that I had skin cancer on my face. And yes, I was so shocked. And I had been having some different types of symptoms that they hadn't quite figured out what was going on with me. And so while I was recovering from my skin cancer surgery, I was looking forward to it because I was like, oh, I can get so much work done while I'm home for those 2 weeks or whatever it was. But I had this huge bandage on my face. I couldn't wear my glasses, so I couldn't use my computer.
Right.
So I was angry. I was irritable. I was grouchy about it because I was really excited to get some work done while I was on leave, while I was recovering from this cancer surgery. And so it was around that time, or before that, that my son and my daughter in law had shared with me that their baby was going to be born in June. And they were like, well, can you come out for a month? I was like, no, I can't. I work a 12-month job. Can you come for 2 weeks when the baby's born? No, I can't. I mean, not with my job. And then I said, well, I could probably go near the 4th of July because we get these 2 days off. And as I was saying it, they were just kind of looking at me. And I was sharing with my other daughter, and she was like, this is crazy. She's like, Mom, you have devoted your whole life to public service. Like, this is the time of your life you should be living. So I was reflecting on how I was so upset that I couldn't work and how I wasn't getting things done, and then things with family and then the whole cancer thing. And I just stopped and I went, it was one day I was here by myself and I said, what am I doing? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? I need to figure this out. So I just started thinking years before I had decided I wanted to be a life coach because I had an awesome experience with a life coach.
Mhm.
But instead of becoming a life coach, I went back to school to get another master's degree so
Right.
I could become an administrator for special education because I thought that was the logical route.
Yes.
So, yes. And so my life coach at the time had been saying to me, why don't you? I already had my certification. She said, why don't you become a life coach? And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I like what I do. I love serving families and school divisions and doing training or, whatever. And I want to continue helping individuals with disabilities and their families in schools. And she said, well, why don't you make that your niche? And of course, I'm thinking, okay, do I leave this job to go into something that's completely unknown? What if I don't what if I'm not successful? What if I don't make any money? Um, what are people going to think about me? Definitely went through times when I had that going through my head, that imposter syndrome. And I just made the decision. And like I said before, my husband is completely supportive. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore, but I think I can still serve. And so we talked about it, and my coach helped me kind of just discern what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And I went back to work. And the next week, or when I went back to work, I said, "Yeah, I'm going to resign, and this is what I'm going to do."
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yep.
That was a bold move
Yes.
because it is really safe. You were in a really safe place. Like you could have just gone all the way through, retired, all that. You know what I mean? But
Yes, and I had because we were, or I was a military spouse and we moved around a lot, and even when we were here in Virginia and we were more settled, I always worked part-time. So none of those years counted towards retirement.
right.
So my retirement years really started in 2010 when I got separated. So
Mhm.
I would have had another 13 years before I could retire. So I was really looking at 13 more years or, what am I going to do?
Right.
So anyway, so
Well, that was
those are
really,
my turning points.
oh, that's really bold. I love that. Okay, so now you started a business. How did you go about starting that business of coaching? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So I had already completed one coaching course, but of course, you have to, not everybody, but I thought, oh, well, I'm still not good enough. So I did another course.
Yeah.
And I think I was trying to, in my mind, I had to achieve a certain level before I could really help people. And yet I had all these coaches telling me, you have 25 plus years of experience as an educator. Like you're perfectly fine. But I kept like trying to, I don't know, as coaches, I think sometimes like we will have that imposter syndrome where we feel like we're not good enough.
Mhm.
But I worked with a coach to help develop my niche, and I just did it. I just said, okay. I talked to a neighbor and he taught me how to do, like, he helped me with the website. And then I just said, okay, I got it, and created the website. And I did take another coaching class in neurolinguistic programming because of course, I'm a speech language pathologist at heart. So I really like the brain, and I
Mhm.
love that whole concept of how we can use various strategies to create changes or help people to create changes in their beliefs and just their thoughts and then ultimately their actions. So I just did it. Just did it. For me, I felt like I needed to have a website because I'm not only a life coach, and my niche is to, like, I'll work with any individual, couple, or family that's wanting to overcome any obstacles or challenges, especially in communication, advocacy, and just building their relationships. But I specialize in supporting families who, well, individuals who have a disability or family members or caregivers who are supporting a child or an adult with a disability, and they want to just process, the emotion that comes with that, and or to help them develop communication skills and advocacy skills. So when they are communicating with the school division or the doctor, or um, working on getting employment for their child, that they're feeling confident and empowered when they're communicating in those spaces. So that's the coaching side. The other side is the consultation side. So, I had
Oh,
to make it a little bit difficult. So I consult with 3 different, groups of people. I consult with parents to help them to understand the special education process. Most times it's IEPs. I will review IEPs and help them understand what it even means. And more recently, I had said I wasn't gonna do this, but realized that there is a need. I do this all virtually, so I do attend IEP meetings sometimes with families, which I have found to be really beneficial. And
mhm.
then I also offer consultation services to school divisions for instructional coaching or professional learning and development training. And then also consulting with corporations to do any type of inclusivity training or development within their organization surrounding awareness of disabilities.
Wow, you're so skilled and your services that you offer. I mean, I can't even believe it. You're saying that you even do these services at corporations and within schools to develop professional development. I think that's amazing. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. Yes.
Coming from the education background, I know I know kind of a little bit about what you've put together, what you're offering. I'm
Mhm.
just so impressed. This is
Oh,
great.
thank you.
This is
Thank you. Like,
oh my god.
given my background and growing up in a home where um, I feel like I came from a marginalized population. I was Hispanic, and then also all of the trauma that we experienced in our family. And then in my profession and my current work, working with families experiencing disability and I've been able to neurodivergence. I've been able to see firsthand the negative impact that lack of education, shame, addiction, illness, unhealed negative emotion and trauma, all of those things can have on families.
Mhm.
And so I just feel like I want to do everything I can to support people and from all walks of life, but I want to build more inclusive environments for families and children with or individuals with disabilities in general and support families. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
Um, okay, so where do you see yourself going in your second half? So, in your career or personal or otherwise, wait, give us a little bit about the future.
I think career and personal, it's hard for me to see the distinction between the two, like that boundary, because I think the journey goes hand in hand.
Mhm.
Um, but I think you're either responding or intentionally creating. So I feel like even in your personal life, you're either just kind of existing, going through the flow, or you're saying, okay, what are we going to do to make this relationship even better? What are we going to do to have more courageous conversations? All of those types of things. But I think like just moving forward and trying to build myself, I need to continue to grow myself and heal my unhealed wounds and grow myself while working to create those opportunities for other people. I'm looking forward to, of course, growing my business, collaborating with other professionals to provide opportunities for people to grow. And then also, I have been a speaker in various environments, which I have found to be really satisfying because I'll have so many people come up to me afterwards and say, you know, I had that experience. I'm
Awesome.
so glad you said that. So, yeah, I think in my personal and my professional life, I just want to continue growing and helping people to grow.
Oh, awesome. Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing. This has been
Absolutely.
so eye-opening and wonderful. So, we have some wrap-up sentence finishers that I'd love for you to finish. Okay.
Okay.
They're kind of my brands I do or goodbye. Okay. So, here's the
Okay.
first one. Finish this sentence. The world needs to realize that those in their second half are.
So I'm going to look at that in two ways. When you say the world, I'm going to split it in half. So I think those that are approaching or that are in their second half, I think they need to realize that they are more than capable. They're more than capable to do anything that they want to do, and that they need to realize that living unapologetically and just being free and being who they are and letting go of all of these restraints is is really what they're intended to do. That's what they were put here for, I believe. We're all put here to be our best selves. And we can't be our best selves when we're restricted by a lot of limiting beliefs and stuff that we carry with us. So that goes back to my
Yeah.
healing everything. And then for those that are not the other half of the world, I think they need to realize that we are so wise. We have been through a lot of experiences, both positive and challenging, that help to create us to be who we are, and that we're here to help for sure. And
Yes.
then also if they can also offer some sort of compassion to us as well, because of all that we've been through. So
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. The second sentence here is finish this one. I'd like to tell everyone in their first half to.
mm, be kind, um, first to yourself. I think that's most important. Be kind to yourself. Again, heal yourself, take care of yourself, love yourself, and then so you can fully love others. And yeah, so you can live authentically and from a place of peace.
Awesome. Okay. And then this last one is hands down in my second half, I will.
Hands down, in my second half, I will, yes, I will do everything like I will do everything I can to reach out to heal and empower others, um, especially women, so they can receive all that they are entitled to, and they can stand in their truth and use empowered communication.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for joining us on the podcast today. Where
Yes.
can people find you, support you, follow you?
I do have an Instagram. It'll be in the show notes, but it's Addy Manriquez _CC for coach and consultant. And on Instagram, my website is addymanriquez.com. And there's a contact page if anybody wants to reach out. I do offer a 60-minute free discovery call to just talk about, whatever it is that you're wondering about my services. And if you want to share what you're going through, I offer a free call so you can understand what coaching is, and maybe you're considering consultation as well. And also through LinkedIn. So, and
Oh,
that's for some reason it will only take my real name. So, but I put the link, I gave you the link for
yeah.
the show.
Okay, awesome. Well, we can't wait to look you up and get some people connected to you as well.
Yes. Yes,
So,
I'm looking forward to it. I love that we're in this virtual world where we can serve anybody anywhere. I mean, I've had a client in England, I've had a client in Australia,
mhm.
and I want to travel, throughout the United States and provide trainings or professional learning and meet with people and do retreats, and I'm ready. So looking
You know
forward to
what?
it.
You're right. Working in this virtual world, in the last year, I've met so many people around the world that I wouldn't have met if I didn't step into this space. And it's been really, really neat. It's,
Yes,
it's
that's
been,
awesome.
it's been great. So,
All
well,
right.
thank you for joining us, and
Thank
everyone
you again.
have an awesome day. And thank you for listening to the podcast, and share it with someone. Give us
Absolutely.
a review. It helps it get out to other people, and live boldly, love Carami and Addy.
All right. Take care. Look forward to collaborating.
Have a good one.
All right. You too. Take care.
Hi, Second Half Chronicles community. I am so excited about this big announcement. I have just opened enrollment for my signature program called Midlife Purpose Quest. It's a one-on-one coaching program, and I'm looking for 5 highly committed women to be a part of this intimate group. So, Midlife Purpose Quest will take you through everything you need to know about bridging the gap between being stuck and lost and not knowing who you are, kind of after a couple decades of taking care of the masses, and help you become fulfilled, happy, knowing exactly what you want out of the next chapter. And we're going to get you a self-crafted, proudly owned tombstone title over the next 12 weeks. So what this program entails is we're going to look at recognizing the blocks, like what things are holding you back from even kind of moving forward or even looking at doing something new. We're going to choose a dream or a purpose. We'll kind of go through a whole series of exercises figuring out what that is. Then we'll identify barriers that are keeping you from actually taking part in that purpose, that dream. We'll commit to a purpose together, and then you'll take action and fulfill those desires. And I will be with you every step of the way. One of the biggest pillars of this program is the accountability pillar, which is I'm there with you and I'm actually showing you what to do and how to do it. Super excited. So there's 12 one-on-one coaching sessions that are 40 minutes each, face-to-face on Zoom. There's support in texting through Slack. There's a program tracking system, a resource collection, which is compiled just for you. And then also I will mail to you, let me grab it, the My Second Half Chronicles journal. So I'll mail this to you. You'll work in it throughout the program, and it'll be a great time. Mostly we're going to have fun. We're going to get you transitioned out of kind of a slump into like just soaring into the second half of your life. And I'm super excited to make this announcement. It was so wonderful being trained in this and putting all of this together. And if you're interested, please find me on Instagram or send me an email. So Instagram at Second Half Chronicles. You can message me there. On Facebook, Second Half Chronicles, Second Half Chronicle at gmail.com. So hopefully you can just find me on Second Half Chronicles and send me a message and we can get started. Look forward to it. Thank you so much for listening today. Please show some love to all of us at Second Half Chronicles by giving us a follow or subscribing, and please share an episode with a friend. It would mean the world. Until next time, live boldly, love Carami.